Welcome, everyone. It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 923. Tonight, going to catch up on a lot that's been happening with me since I didn't do a show last week, and that's actually part of the topic tonight, which is the new client office setup. Going to talk about some client scams, including one, you're not going to believe it, from unbelievable, from a listener, friend. And I got some email, I got some tips, so I want to get started. And the first, I am very, very lucky. Hurricane Helene really did not hit me hard, and I had very, very minor damage down here. I arrived in Florida on Sunday. And I already knew because my neighbor sent me a picture, just a little facing at the top of the top trim of the roof above the last piece of siding is bent back. Now I may have to, I don't even know, I may have to get a whole new piece or just reseal what's bent back, but very minor considering just a few doors down. They lost their roof, a lot of carports. The wind was bad, and the storm surge. There's a canal a couple blocks from me in our community, and we were very lucky that it didn't reach my block. So, but it did flood houses along the canal. I'm just so lucky, and there's so many people who aren't lucky. And my prayers for anybody that you know or anybody that has been severely impacted, including Georgia, North Carolina. It was just a terrible storm, and I am very fortunate we didn't even lose power or internet because I was able to check my Ring cameras, and wow, boy, if that's working, that means internet's working, that means power's working. So I escaped one here. Since the last show, and I've talked about this, I got to see ELO in concert, Jeff Lynne, and that was an incredible concert. I am so happy. One group just to check off my bucket list of concerts I want to see. Very enjoyable. It is October, and in Philadelphia, that means it is Phillies Red October, and the playoffs for the Phillies begin Saturday and Sunday. My two sons will be at the Sunday game. I'll be only watching it on TV. My wife does join me here Friday, tomorrow, and then I'm going on vacation with my wife for a week, which brings up next. And by the way, tonight is Game 3 of the wild card, and it's either Milwaukee or the Mets. Whichever one wins plays the Phillies. I'm not sure if there's going to be a show next week because we're supposed to stay somewhere where the storm impacted, and I'm not sure we want to go. I can cancel and get all my points restored. So if we cancel, there's a good chance we will, then I'll be recording next Thursday night, which will be the 10th, 10/10. So anyway, that's what's happening. So crazy busy. In a little bit, I'm going to talk to you about why last Thursday, I couldn't do a show. There was so much client work. So now we got to talk about the scams that I have ran into with clients. This one, he's a financial advisor. And boy, did he beat himself up while he was talking to me. He can't believe he was scammed. He he received an email where they were pretending they were PayPal. And it looked so good. He called the number. I'm like, he broke our major rule, which is If someone asks you to do something, you don't do it. You don't do it, no matter what they ask. So he broke that rule. He broke several, because the next one, they had him download AnyDesk. They remoted in, and this was on the guise that there was a mistaken transfer that they needed to fix of a purchase of Bitcoin. They had him log into his bank, and he did it. And they siphoned money from his bank. I can't believe that this professional person was scammed. He can't believe it after that. So he called the bank afterwards. What he did is he shut off his machine when he realized what was happening. And then he called me. I told him he's got to call his banks. He's got a new credit cards. We don't know what they got a hold of. So had him do all that. And I said, then call me back. I'll walk you through setting, logging into your system. So I ran a complete set of everything. But the first thing I did was what software was installed, and AnyDesk was there. So I got rid of that. All right, here's a new one. Client called. She was hacked. They drained a lot of her accounts, and they took over her phone. Now, here's how they took over the phone. And this was, they're getting pretty clever. The phone scam started where they called her phone, and they had her, without telling her, they had her turn on forwarding to another number. And what's interesting, we were dealing with texts. When I called the number, I got India and a person, this is the fraud department. And and I'm like, wait a second, this is my client's phone number. I had to get a message to her to call from a landline or another phone. And we talked her through turning off the call forwarding, but just be aware of this, with the call forwarding being turned on. I wanted her to go to, it was Verizon, and see what they can do before she starts using the phone. Now, what they did is a full restore from a month prior. I like that. That was actually pretty good, because if they put anything in there that she doesn't realize, if they got, we just don't know everything that was completely done. And, but this is just another scam. And these are a little, well, not the first one, but that forwarding, that was the first I've ran into that. Now, for the next one, I'm going to go right to an email. Now, you know how we preach. Two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication. Make sure you enable two-factor authentication on every account that you have. This email is from a friend, a listener who became a friend. We go to some Phillies games. He's retired. He's a reverse snowbird, Joe. He's back in the Philadelphia area. And we didn't know each other at Drexel, but we both graduated from Drexel. And Joe sent me this, and I have to share it. He goes, I was listening to one of your shows from a couple of weeks ago. I'm always a few weeks behind and always save it, in which you mentioned two-factor authentication. I thought the world of this method of ensuring one's identity until this happened to me. I share this with you in the hopes that it will save at least one person from potentially going through what almost happened to me. I can offer to you that I have been involved in computers for a long time, since 1968, when as a civilian, I worked for the Department of Defense computer support, when most people had little or no computer knowledge. I received a phone call from the fraud department of ABC Banking Credit Card Division, asking if a recent transaction for $126 for Costco in Atlanta, Georgia was a valid transaction. I told them no. The caller said that they felt it was not valid also and that it was declined, so no charges were incurred, but they recommend that the existing card be closed and a new one be issued in its place. I said, fine, send out a new card. They said they wanted to verify the mailing address and phone number to ensure they were talking to me. I said, okay. And I told them, they said that they would text a code to me to verify that they were really talking to me. I said, okay. In a few seconds, I got a code text to me. They said, give them the code for verification. Big mistake. I said, fine, and read them the code. They said it all checks out and I would get a new card sent and I should have it in 2 to 3 days. A couple days later, I saw that I got an email from ABC Bank a few days ago telling me that my password was changed. I also got an email sent to me from ABC Bank saying that a PayPal account was linked to my investment account. The investment account had a good deal of my IRA and life savings in it. I had a credit card and my entire life saving in an IRA in ABC Bank. I thought, oh, you can insert the word. I called ABC Bank, and sure enough, I was a fraud victim. Although no money was yet stolen, the scammer had complete access to my investment accounts. ABC Bank took immediate steps, changed my password, attached a crazy constructed security app on my phone that essentially changes my password every 60 seconds and was only available from my personal phone. And I needed, another form of authentication. They might have used Authy or something like that. And I need it every time I log into my account. Yes. They did all the right things. In hindsight, the lesson here was just before the text was sent to me, the real ABC Bank was contacted by the scammer to change my password, and I was texted a security text message, which I got and stupidly read to the scammer, who was able to complete the change of my password. He then went in and connected his bogus PayPal account to my IRA account, but luckily did not move any funds out yet. Lesson learned from this: be careful. Even when everything seems legit, do not share that text code to anyone over the phone. And I thought I was tech savvy. Thanks, Mike, for a great show. Joe, that's a big email that you sent. That's a big lesson for everybody listening. I'm going to go a step further. If you are texted, if you are called, don't engage them. If you read the text and it's from ABC Bank and they're, okay, hold on, you know what? I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to call or click on that link. I'm going to pull out my card and I'm going to read the phone number on it and I'm going to call them to verify, hey, is there anything going on? That's all you got to do. Call the bank, the card company, whatever it is, call them directly. Ignore the communication. And if you're worried that it's serious and that there is something wrong, you got to call them. Now, the problem is when they say it's PayPal, or they say, here's something that I made sure the client that was scammed by the PayPal email, they still don't say, Dear Mike Smith. They say, Dear Sir, Dear Madam. PayPal and most of these organizations will never address you generically. If they do send an email, it's going to say, Dear Michael Smith. And as a matter of fact, it's going to include my middle initial because that's how I officially identify. So the things to be aware, I mean, I ignore everything anyway, and I get so many of these, and I can't imagine just how many, how many people are getting conned by this when you got computer people who know what they're doing being conned. It's really bad out there, and we have to take the torch and teach and spread the word. When in doubt, throw it out. Ignore everything. Never, ever, ever do anything that anybody asks you to do, whether it's social media, whether it's email, whether it's text, or a phone call. And that's what we got to spread, because that's the world we live in right now. So I wanted to really, because of Joe's email, made me want to talk about scams again, because that's a good one where they are ready to access your account, but they need that two-factor authentication, and they con you into giving them the code. Oh, that I had never heard that, and it makes sense. And I was like, I got to share that, and you need to share that story. Okay. So Thursday night, I was preparing for a huge project. I've been hinting at it and talking a little bit about it. It's a dental office that they outgrew their space. Their systems are too old. And they run EagleSoft software to manage the dental practice. And they bought a new location, and it took forever to get all the construction done and everything set up. And then we had to come in and we hired someone to do all the wiring and mounting the monitors, that second monitor when you're sitting in an exam room and they're showing you x-rays or something that on a bigger screen. We had to mount them. As a matter of fact, they have 12 exam rooms, and we really only officially lit up 7. And we still have multiple screens, and I'm just waiting for the next phase for the project that we got to order a bunch of hardware and get that all mounted up. 14 new computers that we had to set up, and man, did we run into some troubles. I bought on Amazon, and you can't trust everything you get. I knew everything was dual monitor. So 6 of the admin stations are dual monitor, and the Dell monitors they were 24 inch, and they came with DisplayPort to DisplayPort. Now we learn the following. I bought 10 DisplayPort to HDMIs because the computer has a DisplayPort and an HDMI. So now I run that the DisplayPort to HDMI to the computer. Computer's not booting. I set up another one. It won't boot. You get a light, it'll just blink a little bit, and on the Dell computer, and they were micro size, so pretty small. In another office, they only wanted 1 monitor, and we went DisplayPort to DisplayPort, the same identical computer, and it came up right away. I go pull the HDMI to DisplayPort, the computers all boot. So now we got a box of bad cables. We're very lucky that the monitors that were hung they came with HDMI to HDMI that weren't being used, and they were saved in a box down in the basement where the server is and everything. And we quickly went to them and got them all working. This was on the Saturday. Friday, my son and I went and picked up the old server, got that up and running, and one workstation running, and we had to wait for Comcast. So you need internet in order for the software to phone home and register. And we needed internet anyway just to start setting up the computers. So we were there all day. Saturday, we were there 10 hours, and it was my son, Mike Jr., my son, Ryan, and my grandson, Michael III, who's, by the way, 17 years old and was a big help. So we had massive unboxing and setting up, and we were just exhausted from Sunday. And a lot of work had to be done Thursday night even. And that's why there was just no way, knowing what was ahead of me Friday and Saturday, that I was able to do the show on Thursday night. And then, on Sunday morning, I'm getting up at the crack of dawn to get to the airport for an airplane that I had booked months ago to come to Florida. So, and then hoping that flight wasn't going to be canceled or delayed because of the storm that just crushed everybody. Helena hit, a couple days before that. And it was just, boy, it just can't get busier. So why I'm so happy and everything is things have settled down. I've gotten, into the groove, everything went well. Everything went good for the dental office. They're seeing patients and everything's working. So but right before the show started, my son texted me, we got the new server, but the new server didn't come in to the last minute. And there was not enough time to take the EagleSoft software and data and migrate it to the new server. So both servers are sitting up, different names, obviously, and they're set up on the same desk. And the new one is a real server. It's a real Dell PowerEdge, loaded with memory and space. And I can't wait to do it, but it's a major project to do that, because then every workstation has to be touched, because now the client software is pointing to a different server. I also need the remote support from EagleSoft for this process. They want to do it on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I'm like, no. My son's already got plans. I got plans. That's just not happening. So we got to pick another Friday for that. So now, another project, which is going to be mid-November at Fort Lauderdale. Now, that's where Uncle Marv is. So Marvin B from MB Systems. So I'm partnering with him to help with this project. He's providing the phone system, the firewall, and the PoE switch. I'm providing all the Dell hardware, the Dell monitors, the Dell Peer server that we're going to implement, and we're going to downgrade and get rid of a real server. And that is a lot of work. And so I've already booked, my son is coming down, and then we're going to drive to Fort Lauderdale, and that's a weekend in November. So we got a big project there with lots of transfer of all the information and the data. So I'm sure there's stories, There's other little annoying things that we just dealt with in the dental office project, but the big one was the bad cable, because you can't plan on bad hardware and bad accessories. That it just happens, and you just got to be able to pivot and work through it. So we were going to find like a Best Buy or something, but that would have taken time. Someone would have had to go drive there and get it. Would they have 6, cables that we wanted? So you try to prepare for everything, but you can't. You do the best that you can. I want to talk about a couple more items before I get to 2 more emails. And this one is, I'm going to have a site link, and this will be the first link for the show notes. Client contacted me. They have the domain with GoDaddy. They have a new Wix website. They can't get it to go live. Now, they also have email, and they have lots of other DNS entries. So what this link is going to do is walk you through how to connect your domain name to your Wix site. Now, one of the things that they walk you through is going in to wherever you're hosted, and they want you to change the name servers. No, you're not going to change the name servers. You're going to do the manual pointing. There's just 2 DNS records, an A record and a www record that they give you what you need, but they make it very difficult. The main line here in the instructions is at the top of the page, there will now be an option to select. If you prefer, you can connect by pointing. You want to click that. That's where then they're going to give you the IP address for the A record, and then they're going to give you what you got to put in for the www, which is sort of a redirect to Wix. About half hour later, now, by the way, she spent days on the phone with GoDaddy, on the phone, days. In under a half hour, I had her live. She was so excited. And I got it, I got an email. I can't believe it. My site's up. It's live. It just took that half hour for everything to propagate and for Wix to get it going. And, something I noticed about Wix, which was pretty good, is that give me a second here. Is the fact that they not only do they want the name servers, but a nice thing that Wix does is they provide, if you buy the premium package, which is X amount of dollars, and it's not much, like $14 a month, they'll provide the SSL and automatically set that up. I've noticed that for a couple clients. That was pretty good. But here now, the nice thing for the story, hey, she's able to keep the domain, keep control of the DNS, and then still have a nice site. All right. Client called me this week. I think it was Tuesday night. Her Surface Pro was stuck with just the picture of a battery. So it sounds like, it just needs to be charged. Maybe, try a different power source. She tried all the power sources. Here's what fixed the problem. And this is the second link. Force a shutdown and restart your Surface. They have instructions for the newer Surface and then the older Surface. So she has a slightly older Surface. You have to press and hold the volume button and the power button at the same time until the volume up and the power at the same time for 15 seconds and then release. And then once you do that, the screen will flash. It'll do a couple things, and then it shuts down. After you release the button, then you hit the power button, and it'll come back on. And that was great. She was so happy because her Surface was she thought, this is it. Now, there are some bad stories about Surface Pros, and it's why I don't recommend them anymore. Now, maybe the new ones, I don't think it's any better. It's so hard to open that the batteries were dying, and if a battery dies, you got to send it back directly to Microsoft, and they charge an outrageous sum of money to replace the battery. So just beware of Surface Pros. This has been a problem, and you notice the trend. I've had many stories of problems with the Surface Pro, the Snapdragon processor and not working with all the software. There's just too many issues. Okay, I have an email that I actually have 2 emails I want to read, and this one is from Tim. I'm not sure exactly what MDR ThreatDown, and this is Malwarebytes ThreatDown is, and do I need it? ThreatDown which is managed detection and response, combines Malwarebytes detection with AI-powered engines and around-the-clock human intervention to streamline security and allow organizations to focus on the growth of the business. Do you know anything about this? Tim, I do not. And he is Brain on Computers. And it's literally brainoncomputers.com. And Tim, thank you for reaching out. Here, does anybody know a little more? And I have contacts at Malwarebytes. And Mike, if you're listening, reach out to me. And you could do a significant job in explaining what ThreatDown is. Here's my take. Yes, does it do more than basic Malwarebytes Premium? Of course it does. And I'm not sure how accessible this human intervention is for watching everything, but the endpoint pricing is just too expensive for a lot of my clients. They're not going to pay it. And it's set at a price that Mike, if you are listening, you got to leave some meat on the bone for some smaller MSPs like us. So right now, it's just too much money. And that's my only, does it do enough for what I'm paying for Malwarebytes now? Does the ThreatDown bring you enough protection? Well, I'm putting a sophisticated firewall in place. I'm doing other things, layering the security for these smaller offices. So I don't know if I need ThreatDown. So I would have to be convinced. Anyway, thank you, Tim, and hopefully we'll get someone to do a little more in depth of what it's doing. And if you do, and if you are familiar with ThreatDown and you're using it, you've deployed it, hey, give me the good and the bad, so, write it up or send me a recorded file and I'll play it. Or if I can get someone from Malwarebytes on the show, I absolutely will entertain that and give them the opportunity to explain that, because I think it's helpful. So we know these things. Okay. This is from our buddy across the pond from Crosshaven Computers, Cormac. And he says, hello again from Ireland. Hope everything is going well for you. I wanted to share a quick tip on setting up Windows 11 laptop without using a Microsoft account. You might have already been familiar with this. It works with Windows Pro. And yes, I'm still going to read this, but we talked about this a while ago, and we still use this exact recommendation that Cormac has sent. And he says, during the setup, choose set up for work or school. When prompted to sign into the Microsoft account, look for sign-in options below the text box and click on it. Then select sign in with a domain instead. This will allow you to create a local account. We just create the local account name, usually no password for the initial setup. We'll always go back and do it. For home users, I usually build the installation stick using Rufus. I run a computer shop here in Ireland, so I set up a lot of computers and hate the way Microsoft are making things harder. If you're on TikTok, give me a follow. I'm under the handle Crosshaven Computers. Cormac, thank you so much for sharing that. I love it. And we do that all the time for new computers. That right now is in our go-to instructions for getting a local account installed when you don't want to use a Microsoft account. And for that dental office, that's exactly what we had to do, because there are no Microsoft accounts for these people. And Office is a different discussion, and we'll at another time. So right now, that is the way for signing them up. And you do know my one client where I brought this all up how long ago talking about this, because they have to have a local account. shame on Microsoft for not being flexible enough for the little guy. And it's just, it's sad. It really is. Some of the things that they put us through and what they're putting us through for updates. We're still investigating. Today, 2 computers with problems. We're still in the process of investigating what's going on. We also had another one earlier in the week. Something's going on, and we have not nailed it down yet, but we will. And I believe it's an update, and there has been things that this one update that's causing problems, none of these systems had that update. So we're running into issues where we might have to just refresh 2 systems already. And I will keep you posted on this. And the more that I learn, I will share. So if anybody else is having like a big uptick of system crashes all of a sudden, all Windows 11 Pro, reach out to me. If you're finding something, email me, miketechshow@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit the website for all the show notes and all the links, and that's at miketechshow.com. Follow me on YouTube, subscribe. That's Michael Smith, MTS, for the YouTube channel. And please, if you find it in your heart, you've learned something from this, and you're like, hey, this is pretty cool, support the show. Make a donation. The donation links are at the website. Thank you so much. And I will see you here hopefully next week. Same time, same channel. Bye-bye.